These gut health hacks are for sure making your bloating worse. Hey everyone, I'm Abby Sharp. Welcome back to Abby's Kitchen. Today you're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, as I am part of the 10 to 15% of the population with IBS. And of all the lovely little joys of IBS, persistent and painful bloating is probably the one that I hate the most. This has been a huge motivator behind why I launched New Theory, which is a wellness brand created with women and folks with sensitive guts in mind, aiming to provide real research-backed tools for managing digestive symptoms and improving overall health. And after nearly 2 years of development, we are finally ready to introduce our newest product, Digest and Debloat. I'm going to share more details and a special thank you offer towards the end of the video, so definitely tune in for that. But before we get into some of the biggest mistakes that you might be making to try to resolve your bloating, it's really important for me to clarify what bloating is and what it is not. Bloating is not your stomach being anything but completely flat the moment you put food or drink into it. Unfortunately, a lot of anti-bloating content out there makes women weary of eating anything out of fear that their stomach won't still look concave. Bloating shouldn't be a code word for not looking snatched and skinny. Bloating also isn't just a feeling of being a bit full. True clinical bloating and distension that warrants attention is often persistent, painful, disruptive, and significant that is generally also accompanied by symptoms like extreme gas, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, or fatigue, and it can be experienced regardless of the size of your meal. And there are a number of serious reasons for clinical bloating, including IBS, SIBO, severe food intolerances, gastroparesis, and even cancer. So if you are experiencing chronic debilitating bloating, please speak to your healthcare provider before following the advice of influencers online, including me, because the treatment can significantly vary based on the root cause. But let's talk about some of the biggest gut health hack mistakes you might be making that could actually be making your bloating worse. Number one, you're dieting, have an eating disorder, or generally just undereating. This is number one on my list for a reason, because my colleagues and I see this nonstop. But there's a strong correlation between disordered eating and bloating, with a few mechanisms involved. So undereating forces your body to downregulate your thyroid function, which is very important for digestion. It also slows the metabolism or the calorie burning of all of our organs and muscles, including those in our gut. So our digestion and motility slow down, our digestive muscles essentially atrophy, and in severe cases, our vagus nerve, which controls digestive contractions, gets impaired, which further delays digestion. And the result of that is typically gastroparesis, constipation, and a lot more gas from bacteria fermenting the undigested food that's sitting in your gut. The problem is that this bloating can often perpetuate undereating and disordered eating because you feel so uncomfortable anytime you eat anything, which just reinforces food fears and drives you to eat less, which basically keeps you trapped. And this is where working with a dietitian to gently and slowly reintroduce foods can be absolutely key for breaking this cycle. Mistake number two, you're not paying attention to your poop. One of the biggest under-recognized causes of bloating is actually constipation. Your gut is distended because you are literally And just because you're regular and have a bowel movement like every day doesn't mean you're not sneakily constipated and FOS. The volume of poop you produce daily can obviously vary based on your diet, but if you're not fully evacuating your bowels, you are going to feel bloated even if you did just poop. So some signs that constipation or poor motility might be at play in your bloating is that you're having to strain to have a bowel movement. Your stool is like small, lumpy, or hard rather than looking like a smooth sausage or snake. You're having to wipe excessively to get fully clean, which can indicate that there's still some stool in the rectum, or you just constantly feel like you need to go. And speaking of constipation, mistake number 3 is you haven't found your Goldilocks dose of fiber. Too little fiber can cause constipation, which, as I just said, can make bloating worse, but too much fiber can also contribute to bloating. So fiber provides the fuel, aka prebiotics, that our good bacteria, aka probiotics, need to flourish and thrive. But adding too much fiber too quickly doesn't give your digestive enzymes enough time to upregulate production, leaving more undigested food for the gut bacteria to ferment. So again, lots of bloating and gas. So when in doubt, increase your fiber intake slowly, starting with lower FODMAP fiber sources like carrots, parsnips, blueberries, kiwi, and quinoa, and making sure you're consuming plenty of water with high fiber meals. Now this brings me to another related but distinct bloating mistake that is incredibly common right now. You are overdoing it on the gut healthy functional foods and drinks. I just got back from a huge food conference, and the size of the functional beverage and snack industry today blew my mind. There is a huge trend towards adding prebiotics in everything because again, we know that those prebiotics help to feed the probiotics in the gut. But after days of sampling at the conference, my bloating situation was out of control. And that's because the vast majority of these new foods are adding large amounts of high FODMAP inulin or chicory root, which are already quite notorious for causing bloating and gas for most people. And they are adding them into these foods in dosages that are well beyond what you would realistically get in whole foods. So if you are drinking a prebiotic soda and having a prebiotic bar, basically providing you with your entire fiber needs for the day, it's probably not gonna feel so good.
Hurts my tummy.
So if you enjoy these snacks, experiment with graduating amounts and take notes to see what your tolerance level is like. So we've talked about prebiotics. Let's talk about the bacteria that they feed. So mistake number 5 is you're choosing the wrong probiotics. Probiotics are not a homogeneous supplement, as each individual probiotic species and strain will offer different benefits for your health, everything from managing eczema to blood sugar management to mood and a lot more. And while by definition all probiotics are good for your gut, depending on the reason for your bloating, some may actually do more damage than good. If there is a chance that there is a functional gut disorder or you're struggling with poor motility and constipation, bacteria, including the good probiotic bacteria that we're taking in supplement, can pool in the small intestine, resulting in SIBO, aka small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And if you think your bloating is painful now, SIBO bloat is next level bad. So lactobacillus strains, for example, are amazingly helpful for gut health, but they are lazy little buggers. So they need a gut with good motility to prevent them from pooling and causing SIBO. So the safest, most versatile strains are spore-forming bacillus strains, which can self-propel themselves through the digestive tract to get the job done quickly, even if you do have a compromised gut, like with IBS or SIBO. So if you're finding that your probiotic is making your bloating worse, consider getting tested for SIBO and try switching to bacillus strains like the ones we used in New Theory's 2-in-1 probiotic protein powder. All right, moving on to mistake number 6, you're eating erratically. Your gut has a natural cleansing mechanism called the MMC, or the migratory motor complex, which is basically like a big broom that sweeps food particles and bacteria through your digestive tract every 90 minutes or so. When we graze constantly throughout the day, we halt the MMC before it's had time to go through its cleansing wave, which results in bacteria fermenting trapped food particles and causing gas. On the flip side, waiting too long to eat can often result in us wolfing down larger portions of food in like a hangry panic. Rushed eating often means less efficient chewing and more swallowed air, both of which can increase indigestion, bloating, and gas. So we need to find that Goldilocks meal timing to optimize the MMC without getting hangry, which usually means having 3 to 4 meals per day with a few hours in between. Finally, the last mistake is that you're stressing yourself out about your gut health and bloating. I know it's easier said than done when you are in gut health talk and feeling distraught about painful and embarrassing bloating, but making digestion management our full-time job is absolutely contributing to the problem. Stress can disrupt the bidirectional communication system known as the brain-gut axis, altering gut motility, microbiome composition, sensitivity, and intestinal barrier function. By sensitivity, I mean that stress can heighten our visceral hypersensitivity, which basically means that we are less sensitive to pain and discomfort within our internal organs, which exacerbates the experience of bloating. Now, managing stress is obviously beyond the scope of this video, but CBT and gut-directed hypnotherapy have been shown to help give some relief to IBS symptoms. And this is not sponsored, but I personally love the Nerva app for this, so consider checking that out if you are looking for some at-home support. Okay, so now that you've got some insight into some of the most common mistakes that I see as a dietitian when dealing with bloating, let me tell you about New Theory's brand new product, Digest and Debloat. So as someone with IBS who has dealt with painful bloating for so much of my life, I have been pretty critical of a lot of anti-bloat products I see on the market. Most offer suboptimal dosages buried in these big proprietary blends or cheaper ingredients without strong efficacy. And many are not third-party tested for safety and purity, which is a massive part of our brand. We go way above and beyond on our testing, and we share our results transparency online, which I very, very rarely see. But the thing that turns me off the most about the digestive supplement space right now goes back to what I was saying earlier about anti-bloat being kind of like ED coded for skinny. Basically, a lot of the marketing positions these supplements as something that you take so that you can eat like massive amounts of cakes and pizza guilt-free, or so that you can look spring break ready without bikini photo anxiety. Yes, we literally received this messaging in an email campaign from a company selling anti-bloat pills. So these campaigns insinuate that any stomach that isn't flat as a board is something that needs to be pathologized and fixed, and that good digestion is more about aesthetics than symptoms that can affect our quality of life. New Theory is all about self-care. And I feel like obsessing over how flat your stomach looks after you eat a slice of pizza with your girlfriends is like the furthest thing from self-care. Plus, loads of foods that are known to cause bloating aren't cheat foods. They're nutritious staples like fruits, veggies, beans, dairy, whole grains, etc. So as a dietitian, my goal is to help empower you to make food choices that nourish your body and help you feel your best. And in my experience as an IBS girly, having a digestive supplement that can help me make those choices without discomfort is an invaluable act of self-care. So for example, knowing that I can have like maple roasted Brussels sprouts or tahini cauliflower, like the foods that I love and that fuel my body well without fear of digestive repercussions, has been such an integral part of my own food freedom journey. But let me tell you about it. So since the cause of bloating is often multifactorial and individualized, we designed Digest and Debloat to attack digestive symptoms from a multitude of angles. So to address inadequate digestion at the source and enhance nutrient absorption from the foods that we eat, we use a combination of high potency digestive enzymes. So we've got lactase for all of you cheese and ice cream lovers, myself included, alpha-galactosidase for beans, legumes, and cruciferous veg, and then fructonase for your onions, garlic, and all of those inulin-packed health foods that we talked about earlier. We then combine those enzymes with ginger, curcumin, fennel seed, DGL licorice fruit, and chamomile extracts, which collectively and independently have been studied for their antispasmodic, anti-inflammatory, and pro-motility properties. So for example, ginger extract has unique prokinetic effects, meaning it's been shown to increase stomach and intestinal muscle activity to effectively move food along our GI tract, which in turn helps to support regularity and digestion. With curcumin and fennel seed extract, research suggests that this combo is able to reduce abdominal pain by 50% and significantly improve quality of life. And rounding things off, we've got the chamomile and DGL licorice for their powerful antispasmodic effects, helping to relax the muscles in the GI tract to reduce bloating, abdominal cramps, gas, diarrhea, and other common symptoms of IBS. Yes, you can absolutely incorporate more of these whole foods into your diet, and they're super nutritious, so I definitely encourage you to do that. But they likely won't offer the same clinical benefits that we see from concentrated extracts at evidence-based dosages. And I'm personally all about supplements that actually get the job done, not to mention are thoroughly third-party tested for safety and purity. And sadly, like I said, that is just not the standard that supplements are held to in America. So after months of consulting with our advisory committee and countless iterations and beta testing of this formula, we are so excited about where we landed. I literally take this everywhere I go. And to celebrate the launch, my Abby's Kitchen viewers are going to get a 20% discount to try the product first. So you can check out newtheory.com and use the promo code AbbysKitchen20 at checkout. And that is all that I've got. And I would love to hear if you have been making any of these common bloating mistakes and if these tips have been at all helpful. And I'll also be talking a lot more about bloating on my podcast Bite Back at Abby Sharp, so definitely check it out in the description below. And I'll see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye!